Hi, everyone. Welcome to the MedCurity podcast. This is Mel. I'm your host for this episode. I have a very special guest with me today. His name is Ghazenfer Mansoor. He's the CEO and founder of Technology Rivers. Ghazenfer, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you. So why don't we start off? Why don't you tell us a little bit about Technology Rivers and your background and kind of what inspired you to start the company?
Okay, so yeah, my name is Ghazenfer Mansoor. I run a software development company, Technology Rivers. We started as a mobile app development company, gradually moved to healthcare. Our second customer was a health tech company. That's how we got into more and more health tech. Before starting this, I was an early engineer in two startups, and then later on built a recruitment software startup. And then in 2015, I started this business helping businesses in a product development, and then gradually moved to more and more building health tech applications, helping healthcare organizations in a product development, improving their operation, bringing ideas to life.
See. And so as far as your software development, you're creating new products and helping people fix um, issues with any existing and mobile apps as well. That am I correct on that?
That is true. A big amount of our work is, we call it like fixing broken projects. Customers come to us after having bad experiences with either other vendors or in building internally, taking projects taking longer time to build. So we come in, rescue those projects, help them get back on track. So a lot of things we have to do that, and obviously we can talk more on that now or at some stage. But that's a bigger part of. But a good amount of work also where um, people have ideas. We help them bring those ideas to life. Building a lot of our customers are physician entrepreneurs, interestingly, and they have ideas. So we help them create those ideas. And this is where we work with many of those non-product people, and we really that's our sweet spot. And the third area where we work with healthcare services businesses like home care, assisted living, autism care, those kind of companies, helping them improve their operations through AI and technology. That's where we build internal tools to automate their processes, bring efficiency into the. So for us, it's not really just the efficiency, but it's unlocking the growth because as you are building these tools, you're making more time available to take care of your core business.
So would you say that your driving force behind your company and just what you're doing with AI and everything is just improving healthcare and allowing, providers and just enabling them to have more time with patients, or what would you say is your biggest, I guess, what really inspired you to do the work that you do?
So I think the key part is I believe in technology being a service to people rather than we're building a technology. We're using it as the technology is built. No, so the focus is building a really intuitive, user-friendly applications that solve the problem. Every problem that we solve that reduce some workload from the people, and doctors can spend more time caring those patients, caregivers can spend more time because rather than worrying about a lot of those processes, if a lot of your processes are automated, it it allows you to do more business.
So when you're adopt or increasing or helping healthcare organizations, adopt new technology and things like that, what challenges do you see them having, or what do they usually come to you or say, oh, hey, I'm looking for help with this. What are their specific challenges or the most common threads that you're seeing these days?
It's a combination. I think a lot of that comes with, I would say, a misconception because a lot of time nowadays everybody wants AI. So whether it's needed or not, you don't have a data, but you want AI. Yes, AI could be part of the roadmap down the road, but the misconception is mostly like, okay, a lot of people think AI is plug and play. So it's not the case. You have to have a data, you have to have your flows. The bigger part is how do you really take what you have and build it. So AI is not going to solve your problems if you don't have the right workflows. So I mean, it could be a weakness. Um, you could uh, you could build it could fail your project. It would open up more failures for you. So AI is not about just it will just expose you. So in computer science we study like garbage in, garbage out. So
Yeah.
if you don't have the right flows, if you don't have your processes documented,
Mhm.
if you don't have the right data, if you don't have audit logging, you will not have the AI results. AI is like a mirror. AI is going to reflect what you are putting into it. It's going to reflect your people. It's going to reflect your processes. It's going to reflect everything that you have in your business. It's just that now it's going to do more intelligently for you. It's going to save time for you. But AI is not going to just produce something that you don't have.
Um, so for the organizations that are just starting or getting started with automation AI, what's a good low risk project they could start with, or where should they begin essentially? Do as far as like readiness, or do you have steps that you ask people to take care of, or do you coach them through it, or what do you suggest for anyone who's wanting to kind of implement AI and just new tools?
So, yeah, so I think the very first thing we talk about is the data. The second part is your workflow, mapping your data. So you need to have your data, you need to map, you need to have your right processes. That's the only way you can have the right. We do have a checklist that we go through in terms to make sure these are HIPAA compliant, but
Mhm.
and now we have an AI version of it as well. So you need to make sure you have all of those things in place before you can um, be sure. So if one of the common challenges we have seen is like if your people or you cannot explain your processes, if these are not documented, you're not going to be able to build them right.
So as far as the healthcare experience and how AI and these efficiency tools, or just in general improving workflows, like how do you see it? What areas of healthcare do you see it transforming the most, and kind of for the patient experience, and uh, in general, like what are you seeing as far as improving for the everyday person, I guess?
It varies. So we work pretty broad. So a lot of our focus is on the health tech, and that's where a lot of different types of applications are being built. Like so, remote patient monitoring, I would say, is probably the most that we see adapted because that's really still a pretty new thing. So remote care, that's and patient doctors communication that improved significantly, and it could improve more. Scheduling, a lot of those things are making a difference. So in our case, we also work with autism care, home care, assisted living. Again, that's a total different word compared to the one that you see in the providers' practices. So, uh, but it's all over. I wouldn't say there's only one area that's helping more, but remote care is definitely the one that I would say across the board on both sides.
I see. Um, so when you think of more and more technology and the interconnectedness and the different health apps and devices that people are using, it's increasing the like the attack surface, I guess you could call it, for healthcare organizations and patients just in general. So when you're working with people and they're implementing new solutions, they're thinking of their security risks, and so what would you say for like compliance officers or healthcare organizations to like prioritize when they're implementing new software, especially with the cloud-based solutions and AI, to kind of, or I guess keep in mind when they're doing that in terms of security?
Yeah, so I'll bring that checklist forward again. That's where we talk a lot of those. So making sure
Mhm.
you are following certain uh, things. So, but the foremost is definitely the clarity on your data. Once you know what data, and then there are steps that you can take to validate if it's really HIPAA compliant. So that includes audit logging. That's really important. Encryption. That's considered by default, but really still making sure encryption address, encryption um, in transit when you're sending the data, authentication and authorization, making sure you have access control. Who has access to what data? Who looked at data? What time? How long? That kind of stuff. And those things do change as you move to mobile, as you move to AI. Because now, let's say on a software side, whether it's a web or mobile, certain things you can view. Let's say maybe a list of patient data. It may not have 100% of the PHI data, but once somebody click on the patient and then go look at their prescriptions and any other data that the patient had, the visit, the medication, and everything, now that's a lot more detail, right? So tracking all of that up to that level makes a difference because that helps make those decisions, especially if there are any incidents happen. Who access to your database? That's at the infrastructure level, not necessarily at the software level, things like that. On a phone, you have the phone left on somebody's table, or you're outside, you lost the phone. And if you have a PHI data, how do you make sure? Can you remotely erase it? So those kind of things need to be seen by the security officer as they are reviewing. Again, it's a big list of things. I can't talk all in this call, but
Yeah. Nice.
these are
Yeah.
some of the top ones to remember. And I think, yeah, one last thing I just realized, like the analytics part. So, for example, if you are integrating with any third party, so our software is communicating with whether it's Google Analytics, Mixpanel, whatever other different tools, what data are you passing? If you're
Hmm.
passing any PHI data, is that also HIPAA compliant? So sometime you will see the companies are building software. That software itself is HIPAA compliant, but the tools it's using, other than the
Um,
cloud, are not.
hmm.
So you have to make
Hmm.
sure everything is addressed.
Yeah. Yeah. So as far as the when you think of like the healthcare organizations, they're struggling with they're managing that third party risk, and they're looking for a third party vendor, or new tech vendor. Um, what should they look for when they're comparing and they're trying to think of someone who can come up with an innovative solution while also keeping in mind those security, privacy issues? What would you tell them to look for?
Yeah, so I think you have to look at their policies, like do they sign BAA? If especially uh, if they're accessing the real data, PHI data, do they have a separate environment? Um, so, for example, during the dev or staging environment, you may not have a real data. Those are probably anonymized data. Do they have a process to anonymize data? How does the data touches from one to another? So, what is their data deletion policy?
Mhm.
Once something happened, or even if the patient record is deleted in HIPAA, we consider like nothing is deleted unless that
Yeah.
company is out of business and you say I want to shut down. That's a different discussion. But
Mhm.
unless that is the case, you don't delete. Every data still stays. It's just that now it's deleted, marked as deleted. But
Yeah.
in reality, that is available somewhere because that data was looked at by somebody at some stage. It is not your current data, but it is still. So a lot of these things, how I would look at the processes for these companies. How are they building? What are the specific things they're doing in order to make sure those applications are compliant? Um, so I think again, I'll share the HIPAA checklist that has listed pretty much all of these things.
Um, yeah. So kind of speaking of the things that healthcare orgs have to look out for and those, third party vendor vetting and all of that. Um, what are some like pitfalls that you see when they're adopting new tech? And uh, I guess have you again come in to help somebody who maybe worked with a different vendor and they had a problem, and then you're coming in to fix it? But are you seeing any common threads there as far as like what problems people are having with their software or developers and vendors?
Yeah, I think the bigger part is the knowledge of uh, the healthcare, knowledge of HIPAA, knowledge of PHI. So many times the applications are built with the assumption that just encrypting is enough for HIPAA. That's not. And then a lot of time people come in and they would, for example, um, they would they would ask for compliance and they would say we want to automate that, but you can't automate the compliance. You can only automate after compliance is embedded in your process. So again, as I said, like somebody, if your software has all those rules, but then your database access is open, anybody can get in,
Mm-hmm.
then there's no point. It's like you have a computer and anybody can come in and access that computer or the files in your office. So the so that process is important for the compliance. The automation really comes after after the process. If you don't have the process, then automation would create more chaos. It will open up uh, those. It will open up those problems.
I see. As far as any other challenges or concerns, I know AI is a big buzzword, and along with that, people have had some issues or concerns about things like bias or you not using it for the right reasons or correctly. What would you suggest organizations can do to kind of address that, or how it can be fixed as far as using AI? If you have any ideas on that.
Yeah. So bias data is depending on what you put in your system, garbage in, garbage out. So AI can be unethical. AI can be biased depending on what you put in. But yes, on ethical part, so you have to again have certain processes, certain flows, what data you allow. That's the only way. Otherwise, there's no limit.
Yeah. So, in your experience, you've rescued a lot of healthcare software projects that have failed, and so if you think of somebody coming to you, what's the red flag that you spot early on when you're helping?
So the bigger one is the clarity of the flow. So really, what you are building. Many times, the focus may be on one or two use cases. Many times, people are talking about one specific solution, but is it a s is it tied in a whole workflow? So clarity of the workflow, how the system work, like for each of the users, what the patients will do from A to Z, what the home care role is, the caregiver role is, what is the role of the admin staff, like whatever are the different people who will be accessing the software, what are their use cases, what are their stories, what are their flows. If you're clear on that, then then you can build the right product. Secondly, the pattern is most of the time those techs are built by generalists. They don't understand healthcare. If you don't understand
Hmm.
healthcare, if you don't understand HIPAA, mm, like even to knowing like what is PHI, you'll be surprised.
Yes.
Is date of
Yeah.
birth. or is your name is part of the HIPAA? Is it PHI or not? So, so even just the basic knowledge sometime, and you could quickly see that uh,
Mhm.
from by by quickly looking at it. Like, oh, you log in and you realize, oh, the application is logged in for 2 days. Oh,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
you leave. So I mean, you know how like when so I used to work at Veterans Health
Mhm.
Administration. So we every year we do those privacy policy training. So
Mhm.
part of those they ask you those questions in terms of like, what if you have something on your computer you left it? You just go to bathroom or pick up the coffee. Somebody can
Mhm.
come in and
Mhm.
hover on your screen and see the data. That's a violation. So even those basic things. So if your software is not implementing any of those, then uh, you are in violation.
Yeah.
So
And I think
usually, yeah. So for these products, like obviously the clarity of the workflow, the generalist, not understanding the healthcare, and then not one person responsible for that
mhm.
whole
Oh,
process. So there are different, everybody is like, you may have seen those where companies would look for just a developer to build. So
mhm.
it's not just the developer. Developer is one part of the process. There are
Yeah.
many other people. Somebody has to drive that. And that makes a huge difference.
Yeah, and I think I imagine that makes it also easier for, your doing your HIPAA security risk analysis when you're aware of everyone who has access, what data you're collecting, where it's going, how things are set up. I think that makes it a lot easier. And I think, being that we're focused on our MedSecurity, we do the HIPAA compliance and focused on the security risk analysis, and a lot of uh, companies will hire maybe software or sorry, an IT vendor, but they'll do um, the security risk analysis focused on the technical aspects, but miss the rest. And um, so just kind of, I think when you have that full overlooking at every little piece and having that plan, yeah.
Yeah, I
Um,
think so. The ownership is key here. So obviously, just like on a organization have the HIPAA compliance, security compliance officer, similarly, you need to have a product owner for this side to make sure who owns it, who really drive those projects.
yeah. So if you a healthcare organization is wanting to be able, they want to check and see if their third party tools that they're using are HIPAA compliant is on the technical side. How is there something that they can do quickly and easily to look at it, or um, yeah, like it's that
So
verification.
yeah, I briefly touched on it before. So they have to look at like the audit logging, let's say, and you could do a quick test. Okay, you did certain thing, and then as part of the verification process, you can see is everything being tracked, who logged in, what time. You have to see how they're handling PHI in practice, like their process of developing, their process of like the environments. If they're touching the production data, then obviously they have to sign the BA. So those things are done or not. If that was not even there. So that just itself tells, oh, maybe there is something fishy. How do they handle the data deletion process? Um, then the third party tools integration, how the integration is done. All those tools um, compliant? Which
Mhm,
cloud hosting is being used? Are you
mhm,
following that process? They also need to sign the BA. I think yeah. So I can share the checklist that has
mhm.
all of this information.
Okay. So as far as PHI goes, how do you trust AI with PHI?
So you put in AI uh, whatever you give. So you you it's like what do you put on your social media? Whatever you
Yeah,
trust it will. So you usually can. So
yeah.
you can't trust AI just by putting everything. You have to make
Mhm,
sure the data is anonymized. So let's say if there are, say in your, like it's a healthcare, and you can either anonymize or you can mm, make the data change in a way so that it's generic, so it has a reasonable information. So for example, women of this age range from this mm, I would say background, something like that, has these symptoms. So now you're not sharing any specific data. So as long as that the data is generic, you're okay with it. So then you
Yeah.
can have also internal processes. You can use AI internally where the data is not used to train AI. So
Mhm.
and again, that's where you have to have those contracts with whether
Yeah.
ChatGPT or any other tool that they are using. They do provide those enterprise versions where your data stays within your
Mhm.
organization. It is not used to train.
Yeah. Yeah, and I imagine, with the AI when you're working with it that you have those guardrails set up and there's the 18, they call it 18 safe harbor identifiers if you're setting it up so that all of those are removed, then you're making the or essentially making it the
So
PHI so that it can't be traced back to people. Um,
yeah, so there's this saying we say like if you wouldn't trust your temp hire with your patient data, why would you trust or AI with
mhm.
your data?
Yeah, yeah. Um, So when you were speaking earlier before, you're saying that AI doesn't fix problems and it, it helps to reveal them. Can you explain what that means and what healthcare organizations can do before they dive into automation?
Yeah, I touched on this briefly before. So it goes back to the process and the data. So
Mhm.
if you don't have a right, so let's say you, um, so let's say you use AI uh, to create your scheduling process, and if your people, if you don't have that process and the AI is just suggesting, you cannot just because you cannot map your current data with with the AI. Suddenly you got something that just doesn't work. It's great for somebody. It's like picking up any of those tools that are great, but is it gonna fit well within your organization? And I always say that any tool is as good as the data in it. Whether you are using any CRM, whether you are using any telehealth software, any patient care software, anything, if there is no right data, that data is not going to help you. So the tool is not going to help you. So that's very true in the healthcare as well. You have to have the right flows, you have to have your data mapping, you have to have your defined processes, and then you use AI to improve those processes uh, through AI.
When we're speaking of the AI and kind of preparing for it, and we see more and more companies adopting it, we can see that it's becoming increasingly critical to prepare and learn and be aware and kind of do all those different things. So, as far as when their healthcare organizations are diving into it or wanting to dive in it, they do their checklist and um, you know take all those steps. But what else beyond that checklist and that can they do? Maybe training or what other ideas do you have?
Yeah, awareness is important, training is important, uh, and I think another part is the comfort, the trust part. So you can start small with automating certain things that do not have a PHI data. You may just start with your, let's say, operations or any other flows. It could be your scheduling, it could be your patient intake or anything that are not critical. So and obviously patient intake does have a PHI, but there are a lot of other things in your business that are non PHI. So you can start with the simple flows and automate. Once people start to see the efficiency, they're more comfortable. Now they're gonna take bigger into it. They can start to have those ideas. Oh, this is possible. You know how in uh, even today, up till today, most people are using AI just for their content. Oh, I have those that Jasper plugin into my email. You right click and it will improve your writing. Or so so that's a very basic minimum anybody can use. But there is a world beyond that as well. So there's a lot more you can do. So, but one step at a time. So the
Mhm.
organization can start small with automating some non-critical and then gradually expand, because the key is you also need to learn how all of this works. What what data you need to provide. So even with the content, for example, if you just ask ChatGPT to generate, let's say, certain content, whether it's a blog or anything, it doesn't know about your business. It will just create a generic one. So
Yeah.
you have to uh, coach your AI to
Mhm.
train it based on your content. So you have to give all
Yeah.
that data that you you have internal, and that would give you more specific. So we created those internal GPTs. There's like internal document system where internal knowledge base. So your chat GPT, your AI can only answer based off of the data that you have. Then you're getting more accurate. So once people start seeing, oh, these are the possibilities, they will start having more and more ideas. But yeah, training is important. As I said earlier, in a traditional, obviously, you have the HIPAA in your office environment. There are physical regulations. Then the web came, certain more restrictions, more openness. Phone made it more open. Now AI is a lot more. Everybody has access to those AI tools. What if people start putting in ChatGPT or Gemini or other tools and start asking questions without even? But that's where your HIPAA training comes in, the privacy policy, what are the things they can do or cannot do. So,
Mhm.
and then having a process to enforce that, like maybe not giving them access to certain things that are considered those. So, could be a more private version of the GPTs where you only have access to the data, or it could only be stayed internally and not used for the general training.
Yeah, yeah, those are all good points, and, and everyone has a different level of comfortability and knowledge, and, and I think, as we're speaking of training, I imagine kind of, thinking making sure everyone has that base knowledge and understanding how the AI works. I think even it's helpful, just kind of helping, because then people will have some thoughts on security and privacy and the kind of all those things, how it kind of comes together. But yeah, that's great. So looking ahead, when you're seeing the AI changing and the trends and things like that, what are your thoughts on like how it will change going forward in the next couple of years? Like what direction do hypothetically? um,
Well, it's a pretty big topic. I don't think I'll do a justice in answering that, but I can tell what I know. But obviously, there are a lot more experts that can probably answer more. So for me,
yeah.
it's more context aware AI assistance, just like as we were talking a few minutes ago, having your own uh, n- uh, own knowledge base so that any responses you get based off of your own. So I think this is becoming more and more, having more AI agents where that's going to be, and those things are already happening, but those are now becoming more and more specific to your workflows, your organization. So more internal context aware, predictive and personalized care models. That's going to be
Mhm.
more and more. That's what my guess is. Things will change. Who never know.
Yeah.
Um, and then the growing use of AI in the compliance automation. So right now, still there's a reluctance. A small percentage of companies are open to um, AI in the healthcare space, and that's going to grow more and more because uh, uh, because as there are more compliance automation, you will have ways of flagging potential HIPAA violations, monitoring access patterns, things like that. So, for example, in a system, you're uploading a picture, and suddenly that's somebody's face picture. even
yeah,
though you may be showing a scar to another
yeah,
doctor, but that's a HIPAA violation. So it can flag those kind of things. So, uh, but yeah,
yeah,
overall, I think a lot of these things mm, uh, will come in play, and we don't know which direction. We'll see uh, mm, how it's changing. This is the current direction, at least in my perspective.
yeah. Just out of curiosity, how are you using AI tools, or like what are your favorite tools to use, or how are you using them just to make your life easier on a day-to-day basis? That like there's all the you know
Yeah. So,
pills. Yeah,
so ton of tools. So I personally use Jasper and ChatGPT. ChatGPT is my favorite among all, but our team uses ton of different tools. So we're adapting AI in our development processes. So we use vibe coding. We use like tools like Bolt, Lovable, Builder. We can generate the code from Figma. We can quickly create the POC. So if you, let's say, any problem you tell me, and
yeah,
literally we can create a quick POC with a lot of screens just in few hours time frame. So, and we have done those like home care application, remote patient monitoring. Not those are right away in a production ready, but close to production ready. Then there's a human touch part of it, and that's another part that I didn't get a chance to talk about it. Like, it's not that AI will do everything for it. There's a you have to create. There's a human involvement part as part of your process gradually, because somebody still need to review certain things and tweak it, right? So, so we use that a lot. So in our
yeah,
processes, uh, our goal is that everybody in our company is 10x uh, from where it used to be. So
yeah,
we all, I mean, the tools are there. You need to
yeah,
be productive as
yeah,
much as possible, and
yeah,
that's how the world is moving. So
yeah. Yeah, and I think you mentioned or exactly like that. There's still the human involved. You're checking, and the human element isn't lost. You're still the tools are assisting. They're not replacing. And yeah, I was looking through your different projects that you've done, and I saw the golf. There was a golf app. That was the one that stood out to me the most. That was pretty neat. But it was a golf ball or something that could
yeah,
pick
yeah,
the right
golf ball
one.
scanning app. That's
Yeah,
non-healthcare, but that's where
yeah,
we created a traditional model training it, because every ball to detect the playability, detect the damage, different things.
yeah. It's just neat to see all the different applications of it. That you're building. That's cool. Um, is
Yeah, there are a
there
lot of
anything? Go ahead.
so yeah, I was saying there are a lot of other applications, even on the healthcare side.
Yeah,
We're building that has AI involved.
yeah,
So, and that's going to be the direction people are going. So, more and more healthcare uh, companies are willing to use AI in their projects. Everybody wants to use. Not everybody's ready for it.
yeah. That's a great point.
And
So
I tell
and
people, like, technology doesn't fix broken thinking, it amplifies it. So you have to have those things ready. You have to have your right processes. Then the
yeah,
technology will help you.
yeah. So as far as future plans, do you have any news or new things that you're doing at Technology Rivers? Anything exciting that you want to share, or last comments, or things that you want to say to our audience before we wrap up here?
Yeah. So I think I already shared that in my previous comment that everybody in our company, we're trying to do 10x productivity. Every role doesn't matter whether you're an ops person, whether you're a QA. Everybody is adapting AI to be more productive. So that's the main thing. And we started doing that. Like, we get a requirement and we create a quick POC before our calls. So that's something we started doing, those things, because we can do that now with the technology. So um, uh, yeah. that's definitely one of the main thing that I'll probably be talking more and more in the coming
Mhm.
days because that's a big achievement.
Yeah. Well, thanks so much for joining me for this episode, and it was really nice chatting with you and sharing all your insight. Yeah. Thanks everyone for tuning into this episode of the Maturity Podcast.
Thanks for having me. It was great
Thank
chatting.